I believe in public education, which is exactly why I am homeschooling my son. Let me explain. Before I explain to you my reasons for homeschooling my son and how I believe this is part of how we save our public schools, I want you to scroll down and hit that subscribe button. Of course, hit the like button to this video, and while you're down there, leave a comment. Let me know your vision for saving our public schools and what you're doing about it. Okay, so let me explain. Yes, I believe both in public education and that homeschooling is how we save public education. I went to public schools for most of my K-12 career. Both of my sisters graduated from our district high school. I went to college to become a teacher. I have a New York State teaching license. I taught in New York City public schools for 5 years. I believe in public education. I believe that all children have the right to an education, and in fact that it is in the best interest of society that all children have access to a high quality education in reading, writing, math, social studies, and science. I would go even further as to suggest that all students should have access to sports programs and other extracurriculars that create well-rounded citizens. Unfortunately, in 2022, public schools across the nation are betraying that mission on all fronts. And this includes our local school district, the schools where me and my sisters grew up. This has left me with no choice but to pull my son and homeschool him. Though I must include the caveat that open schools, even struggling ones, are almost always better than closed ones. The past 2+ years have proved that, while also unequivocally revealing the rot in the system. To begin with, I have no doubt in my mind that if it were up to our district leadership, our children would still be masked up behind plastic shields, eating silent lunches while watching movies. School events and field trips would be canceled, and parents would still be locked out of schools. In 2020, such restrictions quickly proved futile. But instead of moving to restore normalcy with an urgency, district leadership fought parents to keep the restrictions in place. When our school board had the opportunity to strip our district superintendent of the power to arbitrarily re-implement these restrictions, they didn't. I simply do not believe that these restrictions will not return, and I refuse to subject my son to people who are supposed to take care of him, who will see him forcibly masked for 7 hours a day and think that's okay. On top of all the COVID nonsense, in the spring of 2021, when my son was actually still in preschool, the district adopted a diversity, equity, and inclusion policy which has been used as a springboard to introduce a number of controversial policies. For example, the superintendent tried to introduce sweeping new scheduling changes, trying to move the schools to a 4-block schedule, which there's very little research behind, and which completely ignored the district's own success with the 8-block schedule in one of their schools. Next, they're using it to introduce grading for equity, and they're piloting a new, more fair grading system. In another move, the district bought lots of sets of the book called The Pants Project, which is about a girl who is struggling with her gender identity, and gave all the teachers in the district a professional development on how to teach the book and talk about transgenderism in their classroom. These are just a few of the concerning issues. Every day as I hear about fights in the schools or issues with vaccine clinics in the schools, I am grateful for the decision I made. So after a year of fighting for my son to have normalcy and the promise of the same rigorous public schools I had growing up, I've determined the best way to save our public schools is by homeschooling. On the most basic level, it sends a financial message. For every student the district loses, they also lose funding. Money talks, and like many districts, Stanford is experiencing an exodus of students. And so as those emergency COVID funds start to dry up, district leadership is also going to be thinking harder about the direction they're going. Next, homeschooling gives me more liberty and mental bandwidth to advocate for our public schools. I don't have to worry about the impact on my son that a difference in opinion with a teacher or staff member or parent might have. I also don't have to deal with the emotional toll it takes on you when your child is experiencing this nonsense in their school. This allows my advocacy to be less reactive. It's time to play some offense. I do not believe we can do this work completely outside the system. I don't believe we can completely abdicate our influence over the public schools as they are. We must keep pressure on district leadership and use the political system to take over school boards and try to roll back some of these destructive policies. Finally, and most importantly, I'm not just homeschooling. I'm part of an ecosystem that is building the future of public education. Like the rest of our government bureaucracy, our public schools have become extremely centralized and controlled more by outside interests than public ones. Schools are designed more for the corporate interests, the contractors, the ed tech companies, along with the teachers' unions and all the politicians in their pockets, far more than they are for the communities that they serve. Unfortunately, we've been conditioned not just to accept this as public education, but to fight for it. When something's been the way it's been for so long and only got that way over a long period of time, it is really hard to envision public schools as anything else. I'm a single mom. I work full time. I never thought that homeschooling was something that I would be able to do in these circumstances, but I'm doing it. What I've learned is that homeschooling looks different for every family, but every family that I know who's homeschooling isn't doing it alone. Each family comes with what they have, and for each family, that's different. I'm a single mom. I work full time. What I'm able to bring isn't the same as what another family is able to bring, and that's okay. Each family brings what they have, they pool their time and resources, they put their kids in programs together, hire teachers, and make sure that every child has a loving and safe space to be. It is through community, mutually agreed upon exchange, and people simply doing things out of the kindness of their heart that I'm able to homeschool. That sounds like public education to me. Let me know what you think in those comments down below. Make sure you've liked this video and you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of our videos and podcasts.